We are going to be looking at some creepy videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. So what in the world is causing these very loud sounds, these very loud booms that multiple people in multiple locations keep hearing? Matter of fact, it's getting to the point that it's actually shaking their homes and possibly causing large cracks in the roads. Now, on my other channel, Minutes of Horror, about a week ago, I made a video where people over in New Jersey in a span of a week heard these two very loud booms, and then a couple days later, there was this massive mysterious crack in the road that stretched for about a couple miles that nobody can explain to this day. One of the theories when I made that video was that it may have been caused by some kind of earthquake or some kind of ancient fault, possibly waking back up, but the USGS has come out and stated that this was not caused by any earthquake. But when it came to the mysterious booms that were heard over in New Jersey, this is an example of what was heard. This was so loud it was actually heard in multiple cities, and still, like I said, no source has been identified. So that was New Jersey, but now news has come out, and I'm reading this article from 13 News Now, which was published on September 14th. Mysterious boom rattles homes in Virginia Beach and beyond. But this one's very weird because in the news clip, you'll hear that people heard a boom, but their neighbor heard nothing. So some people heard something, but others heard nothing. And they'll play a news clip of where you'll hear a garage rattling from the boom, but you won't hear the boom. This one's really weird.
A lot of people are talking about the big boom that happened over part of the area. My family experienced it for sure right around this time last night.
And social media is still chattering, but do we have an answer to what made the racket and shook maybe your house? 10 News Side's Nick Broadway joins us with an update tonight.
I'm standing in one of many Virginia Beach neighborhoods where that loud boom was heard last night. What's strange is you could go to one house, talk to someone who said it was so loud it shook their home, then go next door and talk to someone who said they couldn't hear it at all.
It was so loud, it could be felt. That's a garage door in Virginia Beach, shaking in front of a Nest camera. The person who sent this says it happened at precisely 5:32 p.m. Sunday.
Sounded like someone had crashed into a vehicle out here and thought it was my truck sitting out in front of the house.
We got your messages from up and down our slice of the coastline. People from Currituck County to Virginia Beach heard the loud boom.
I heard a boom, the house started shaking. I went and checked around the yard and stuff, and everything was fine. The house was vibrating, like something had collapsed. Yeah. And so then I went across the street and talked to Eric, and he hadn't heard anything. So then I went next door to Lori's house, and yeah, she was freaked out about it too.
Other people we spoke with in the same neighborhoods said they couldn't hear it at all. Many told me they might have been too distracted by the Eagles-Chiefs game. Others say there was no way they could have possibly ignored it.
What did it sound like?
It just sounded like a big explosion, then our house shut. I don't know, maybe like a bomb? I just want to know what it was.
We reached out to the Navy to see if they happen to know what caused the boom. In response, they told me at the time their aircraft were in the midst of routine training offshore in an authorized area, complying with FAA regulations.
A city spokesperson tells me the dispatch center got several calls when the loud boom was heard last night. They sent a lot of first response out to answer those calls. No evidence of an explosion or any kind of large car crash that could have caused it. In Virginia Beach, Nick Broadway, 10 on your side.
All right, we'll continue to follow this story and post any updates as we get them on wavy.com.
So yeah, that's very weird. You'll have one house say, yeah, it was so loud, it shook the entire house, but the house next door will say, we heard nothing, we felt nothing. But in this video clip, it's very weird because you can hear the garage shaking from the effects of the boom, but again, you cannot hear the boom, and I tried playing it multiple times. I turned the volume all the way up, and again, I cannot hear the loud sound that rattled this garage, and this loud sound that a lot of people heard across Virginia to North Carolina. So what is going on here? People who are replying to this video said, "We all know what we heard. Why don't we know what it was? Why aren't they saying that?" Same thing like over in New Jersey. This other person said, "I texted my kids at 5:33 asking if they felt the house move. I knew I wasn't tripping." And then about a week before what was heard in New Jersey, this news came out on August 28th from KGRH News. Mysterious boom, shaking interrupts city council meeting. Tulsa councilors react.
If this ordinance passes, we will do more harm than the good that it would do to clean up our intersections of the houseless problem.
What was that?
I
don't think so.
hope that you implore to vote no on this.
Yeah, let's wait just a second.
That was one of the booms that was heard right here at City Hall during a city council meeting Wednesday evening. I'm Isabel Flores with 2 News Oklahoma, and I was able to sit down with some of the city councilors that were present so that they could tell me a little bit more about what was going on through their minds.
The feeling that I had, and I think other people had, was just confusion, just sort of just perplexed, like, what did you just feel? What I just felt? What is going on?
City council member Anthony Archie told me the mysterious shaking happened twice, the second time during a short recess.
Just probably 2 minutes later, it felt like there was another boom, and the whole place kind of shook again.
I reached out to the Tulsa Fire Department and Police Department, but no one knew anything about the incident. I also reached out to City Hall and was told nothing was found, but everything is all clear.
And the concerning part was, I think, not just the noise, but the sound, the noise, and the movement of the floor underneath us.
City Councilor Phil Lakin told me he's been to hundreds of city council meetings and has never experienced anything like it.
I think we did the right thing. You know, we paused the meeting. We had people go out and look into the immediate lobby area to see if there was anything there that we needed to be worried about. Other people went outside of the building.
City Councilor Karen Gilbert confirms one thing is for sure. No one knows the origin of the boom.
There has been a lot of talk about it. So I wish we could find out what it is, because it wasn't just one boom, but two. And it was scary.
We'll let you know if we get any answers. In Tulsa, Isabel Flores, 2 News, Oklahoma.
People who were inside their homes have also said that they heard and felt this too when this happened. But as of right now, the mysterious boom that recently occurred in Tulsa at a city council meeting on August 27th, 2025, has no known cause or origin, leaving residents and officials confused and concerned. But it's still my opinion, and what happened over in New Jersey pretty much backs up my opinion. Happens to be that what people are hearing and feeling is not coming from the skies above, but actually coming from the ground below. Especially given the fact that in almost all of these, they can never track these sources to these very mysterious booms. If it was a sonic boom, usually they can track it back to a rocket or a jet. And if it is coming from below, I mean, maybe the earth is becoming more and more restless, or they are expanding and building new tunnels for multiple reasons. And these are just a few cases. Not too long from the mysterious boom that happened in Tulsa, multiple people heard these very loud booms in multiple areas of Texas that still have no explanation. So again, the question happens to be, what in the world is going on and what is causing these very loud booms? In this next creepy video, this sheriff is going to play a 911 call, but the question happens to be, what did this man encounter, and has there been any updates from this man?
It is very hard to listen to that call, to that 911 tape, without becoming somewhat unnerved. It actually bothered me the first time that I heard it.
County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm driving on 210. I just crossed the Black River, and I thought I saw a guy standing on the side of the road bleeding.
Okay, where are you at, sir?
I'm on 210. I just crossed the Black River. I'm heading towards 53 East. I just passed Patriots Watch.
Okay, so you're over near Morse Creek?
Yes.
Okay. And did you saw a man standing on the side of the road? What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the bed of my truck!
Okay, what's in the road?
No, it's not in the road, it's in my truck. In the bed.
There's something in the bed of your truck?
Yes, ma'am, I just turned on my bed lights for my truck and there's something in my bed.
Okay, sir, when you say something, what do you mean?
I just knocked it off of the bed of my truck and went over my roof.
Okay, what was it?
According to the CAD notes and the deputy reports, this thing jumped into the back of his pickup truck and began to actually beat on the top of the cab of his truck. You could actually hear something beating on the top of the truck. The caller stated that it was beating and scratching on the top of the cab of his truck. He actually stated that he was able to engage his bed light and was able to somewhat identify this object that was in the back of his truck. At some point, he was able to slam on his brakes, and the force of inertia actually threw this thing out over his hood and onto the highway, where this thing stood up in the roadway, made its way to the wood line, and disappeared in the woods.
This next video comes from Elkin Eve 1984, and this is something I have been talking about quite often when it comes to MK Ultra, new forms of mind control, and she makes a very good point when it comes to this group 764 and targeting children, but the notes you're going to see are very, very eerie.
I've been talking to you guys about mind control lately, and I don't know if you guys have heard of this online group called 764, where they are entering into text conversations with young people, some as young as 9, and catfishing them and getting them to send them pictures of themselves and then using the pictures to blackmail the people. And then if the person doesn't do what the order giver does, the 764 member, if the person doesn't follow the order of the 764 member, then they get ruined. Their pictures will be shown to their families and their friends and their schools and things like that. So it's literally mind control, and it's mind control being done through the internet. And I just want to say that this is 100% a 3-letter agency operation being done on the young people. It's MK Ultra again, just a different version of it. And it's being perpetuated through the internet, through chat rooms and Discord and Telegram. It's cracking and fracturing this younger generation. I want to show you this picture. This is from one of the victims. Her order giver, their username was MK Ultra. And so this person was forcing her to carve things into her body, including his username. So she carved the words MK Ultra into her flesh. If you don't know about this 764 and you have children who are on the internet, you really need to educate yourself and look for the signs that your child might be in text communication with someone who is mind controlling them, manipulating them, and blackmailing them.
This just gets crazier and crazier, and how they operate was how it was reported how the 3-letter organization used to operate when they conducted MK Ultra. Now, I'm sure they are still doing it to this day. I'm only using it as a reference. But look at this note right here written by this girl, Alexis. MK, I will shed more than my own blood for you. I will hurt others for you to show you how much I truly love you. I can't get enough of you. I need you so bad. I am nothing without you, Alexis. So yeah, this definitely feels like another program of MK Ultra, and at the end of the day, while they say it's this rogue group 764, I know where all roads lead. It leads right back to the 3-letter organization because, again, these are the same tactics. They blackmail them and show them things and threaten them, threaten their families, and they get them to a point that their minds mentally crack to where they can have them do anything, carry out any task, hurt people, even end people's lives. And this group is still operating as we speak. This next creepy video from Bobby Curtis Lee is downright scary, and the sounds that these men captured really threw me for a loop.
There are things that live in the forest that we don't even know exist. The story I'm about to tell you is 100% true. It was 1971 in the Sierra Nevada mountain range where a small hunting camp still exists today. Back in this time, the camp was very desolate and only a few people knew of its existence. It was 8 miles from the nearest footpath back into the woods where you would experience a 4,000-foot elevation gain along the way. So, at this time, the camp only had 4 founding members. One of them was a man named Ron Moorhead. Ron Moorhead would later be interviewed after experiencing something inexplicable at the camp. During his interview, Ron explained that the area had a big problem with bears, so they would often make sure that when they went out to the camp, they were armed with weapons. They had also built this wooden shelter made out of fallen timber to hide out in the case that a bear was in the area. On the night of the incident, Ron said that he and the other 3 camp members were just standing around the fire when they began to hear a grunting sound close by. Ron said that they were so frightened by this sound that they were actually falling over each other as they tried to run to get inside of the shelter. He described the noise as a whooping sound that you would expect from an ape, but said that it sounded like 2 creatures were making these noises back and forth to each other as if they were communicating. As the men huddled inside of the shelter, they looked at each other with terror. They couldn't comprehend what was just outside of their camp making these noises. But then the noises changed and they started to sound more like an imitation of human language, but very distinctly not coming from a person. And this went on for hours. The entire time, the 4 men were trapped inside of the shelter, listening to whatever these things were running around their camp, making these strange noises before they finally stopped and ran away. The men were actually so terrified by this experience that they waited until the sun came up the next morning before they decided to pack up and leave. When they did, they traveled as quickly back home as they could, and they didn't really talk about what they had just experienced. But Ron couldn't get over it. He was able to convince the other 3 men to travel back to the campsite with him to investigate. This time, however, he had with him an audio recorder to try and capture the noises they were experiencing in the forest, with the hopes that someone somewhere could explain what was making them. So they traveled back to the campsite, and they waited until the sun began to set, when all of a sudden, the men heard footsteps running toward them. Just as before, they all ran into the shelter, but this time, Ron turned on the audio recorder, and this is what he captured.
There's 2 of them across the creek at the big rocks. It's a hard act to follow.
It sounds like he talks to others and they talk to each other.
Yeah.
I feel it's important to note that Ron would send that tape off to experts in audio engineering, and they would confirm that the audio is 100% authentic. A cryptolinguist expert would conclude that whatever was making these noises was certainly not a man. The vocal range was just too extreme for a human to replicate. It was also noted that the creature most likely stood between 7'3" and 8 feet tall. So what do you think was in the forest with them that night?
I can definitely hear how it was mocking them, because at times it definitely sounded like it was their voices, but it wasn't at the same time. But it could have even been a Wendigo or something along those lines. But whatever sound that thing was making was downright eerie. In this next creepy video, a lot of people talk about this woman right here that was sitting behind this woman that was basically mouthing her every word. But not a lot of people talk about this video clip where this man is sitting next to this woman and basically doing the same thing, mouthing her every word.
Point just there, which is possibly more of an observation, but I'm interested to hear all of your thoughts. We are all very lucky that we are across the channel and we are the far side of Europe, but Ukraine is actually much closer than all of us think. I drove out there on my own in my little Peugeot in 2 days. That is how close it is. And it's another 2 days from there to where I live in Pokrovsk, in Donetsk. Now, according to Putin, I now live in Russia. But What I think is slightly strange in the UK is that we do not all necessarily realize how fragile our existence here is, how this is right on our doorstep, and how very quickly, if these things become more unstable, this can affect us here, much more than people worrying about energy bills or food bills. And us paying those fuel bills and those food bills are us fighting a war in the only way that we currently at home currently can. So, as I say, that was more of an observation than a thought, but I'm interested to hear what you all think.
He starts to edit it back at the office and sees this. Watch closely. As the face of a young child appears inside the wrecked car. Loudney is stunned.
Not only me, but everybody else in the editing department, including the manager and other people who work there. Everybody saw the face of a child in those images. It came from nowhere. Sometimes you must see it to believe it. But I believe something is there. I know what I saw. My image showed the face of a child.
I don't know why, even though that face is very demonic looking, but this sort of reminds me of that photo that was captured by police where a young adult, he was in a car crash, and you can actually see the spirit or ghost of him still around that car crash. You can take a look at his face and you can see a lot of anguish in his face, and it looks exactly like him, what was captured in this photo. This next creepy video comes from the Jody69, and more of these mysterious fireballs, or quote-unquote fireballs, are seen flying across the sky, this time over in Argentina.
Can someone tell me what was captured flying across the skies of Argentina in broad daylight? A large fireball-shaped object streaked across the skies of Argentina in broad daylight and was captured on multiple cameras. As a matter of fact, take a look at these videos. Look at that. Straight up, straight up. She's telling him, look, look. When the video first starts, because it's so fast, it starts off just like this. And then watch what it does. It actually gets brighter, as if it's igniting something to go faster. As a matter of fact, take one more look at it and watch how it lights up the sky as it shoots across. Look at that. After watching it again, what are your thoughts as to what you think that is? And the video did come from a news website source. So it did happen, and there's plenty of videos online if you search for Argentina fireball in the sky. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
This next creepy video comes from Ladies Love Replay. Now, I'm not saying I believe what he's saying or do not believe what he's saying. I have heard stories similar to this before in the past from even family members, but I would be very curious to see this letter.
I've been delivering mail to a house that was never there. All right, y'all. So I've been delivering mail on this route for like a couple weeks now, I say. And it's always this one house that always stood out. Like, it's this big wraparound porch. It got like blue peeling paint or something like that. And it's this older woman who just like sit by the window smiling, like she's just like waiting for me every day. Like she have nothing else to do. So she always called me like son, and I handed her mail like through like, this little cracked door. So I'm thinking she, a sweet old lady. But today I turned down the same street and the house was gone. Not like empty, I mean like it was gone. Like nothing but like overgrown lot and rusted mailbox like leaning sideways. And I even asked the neighbor, I'm like, what happened to the house that was next door? Y'all, she looked at me like I was crazy, and she was like, that house has been empty for like 20 years. What? So the crazy part is, in my bag today, I still had a letter like from that same address, and it was stamped like 2003, and the envelope felt like cold, like somebody just like pulled it out the freezer or something like that. So I'm standing there with the letter in my hand, just staring at this empty lot, and y'all, I swear I can feel her just like watching me from like nowhere. Like I felt like she was still there. I don't know, chat. I don't know if there's some eerie stuff going on out here, but I don't know.
Let's talk about one of the scariest videos on the internet. Today, we're talking about the Linda Michelle Rogers gas leak video. So this is 12-year-old Linda from Dallas, Texas. She wakes up on February 23rd of 2018 at 6:02 in the morning. She starts this Get Ready With Me video, and she's talking about how she's got a cheer competition to go to, so she's gonna get ready for it. So multiple videos follow, like this one here, where she's just showing herself getting ready that morning. She gets out a straightener. She's talking about how she's going to fix her hair. And then we see her fixing her hair still. This is sped up, obviously. And then you see a bunch of sparks fly. So here's that once again of the sparks flying up. This was the moment her house exploded. This is what's left of her house. Her parents were woken up from the blast. They come rushing in. They rush Linda to the hospital, but it was too late. The explosion was from a gas leak that nobody in the family knew about. Linda's mom said that there were no warning signs. There were no smells or anything for them to be worried about. Someone who did know what was going on is the company that provided this gas, Atmos Energy, because just 2 days earlier, 2 houses in the neighborhood had something similar happen to them. One exploded and one caught fire. When they come out to Linda's house, they do a pressure test and they find that the pipes connecting to Linda's house, as well as 2 others in the neighborhood, were. After this, Atmos Energy comes out. They replaced 98 miles of pipeline in the Dallas area. And then Linda's family settles a lawsuit in May of 2019 where they were seeking at least $1 million in damages. They made a settlement, but the numbers were not released. But yeah, rest in peace to Linda, and hopefully her family is doing well, because that's super scary.
That is the creepiest part of this whole thing, and matter of fact, I have been hearing this more and more in the news when it comes to house explosions, that there will be a gas leak going on, nobody knows, somebody will light something, and then the whole house will blow up. In this next creepy video, I remember playing this game because I emulated it after seeing a review, and at the end you definitely see a body, and it's a very surreal feeling.
Disturbing Internet Mysteries. Hong Kong 97. Hong Kong 97 is a bootleg game made in 1995 for the Super Famicom. The Super Famicom was the Japanese version of the Super Nintendo. Now, this game was created by this guy who decided he was tired of Nintendo profiting off of small creators. So he made a bootleg Nintendo game to prank Nintendo. In the game, you play as Bruce Lee, and at some point in the game, you fight a giant severed head of Deng Xiaoping, who was the former minister of China. This game is said to be so bad it's good, and it literally was made to be bad. But as people played the game, they found out something very disturbing. And that's of course the game over screen, which is a literal picture of a dead body. And though it's not that graphic, it's still kind of disturbing, and people really wanted to know if this was a real dead body or maybe it was from a movie. But after many people did some digging, they couldn't find any movies this was from, so it led people to think this was an actual dead body. After finally getting an interview from the creator of the game, he literally said he doesn't know who it is, and that he got it from a VHS that he got at a store, which really didn't help us at all. Overall, the guy who created the game is kind of mysterious. He really doesn't have that many interviews. He kind of likes it to be that way. But after many did their digging, they did find where this picture came from. And it was from a VHS tape called Death File Yellow. Now, I can't show the picture of the VHS tape, so I found this to represent it. And I recommend not to look it up because it's very disturbing. This film has a lot of real footage of live autopsies and a lot of gruesome stuff. And though the mystery has been solved, it's kind of scarred my brain forever.
This next creepy video comes from Ben Jalendwater, and it's still very creepy to me how there's an AI toy that's basically a chatbot that's designed for children.
I just witnessed a historical moment. My kid's conversation with an AI stuffed animal. It was actually really amazing and beautiful, but unfortunately I read the privacy policy and I can't let my son use it again. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm the family IT guy. I'm a dad and a cybersecurity expert with 30 years of experience. And I bought this $100 toy from Curio because I wanted to know what we're really dealing with when we put AI in a stuffed animal and we hand it to a young kid. So I ran some basic security tests and I let my son try it out. It was amazing. He asked questions about infinity, he shared his interests, he talked about his favorite video games. And these are games that I can't talk with him about because I don't know how to play them. So he was very excited and just truly curious to talk to this thing. And especially that it knows about his games and it knows about the strategies and what he should try next time he plays. And at the end, he said something. I can talk to it when I'm sad and I can tell it how I'm feeling. So that's the potential here, a learning accelerator and an emotional outlet. Now, I'm not going to let him use this specific toy because of the privacy policy, because it records everything your child says, it transcribes it, and then it stores those transcripts for 90 days. And Curio sends a copy of the transcripts through OpenAI, Microsoft, and Perplexity. And I've worked in cybersecurity for a long time, and I know that if data touches the internet, it might as well be public. Data breaches are not rare, they're inevitable. So imagine a scenario where an 8-year-old kid shares their deepest fears with a toy. They talk about their friends at school, their private thoughts, and then they turn 28. They go to apply for a job, run for office, and they find out that their most vulnerable moments are sitting in some database owned by strangers. So this toy could have been designed to keep everything private. There are ways to do that. You can run AI without sending data to third parties. But Curio chose the path of least resistance at the expense of children's privacy. And a fundamental principle is that the privacy of children should be maximized. I think AI is the most important thing adults can be learning right now, and the potential for kids is enormous if we do it right. Kids should never use AI alone. And so I told my son that's like a weapon. You only use this with an adult. Now, with this specific toy, the privacy violations make it unacceptable, even with supervision. So I'm really curious to try other AI products made for kids, because there's something very powerful here, something that could be positive if we're intentional about it. We are the last generation of parents who will remember life without AI. And so these decisions right now are critical. The question is not whether AI will be part of our kids' lives, it's whether we will prepare them to use it wisely. And so the first step is focusing on privacy. So, yes, this was a historical moment for my family. Very fun, very exciting. And if you want to see the actual conversations that my son had with this thing and how an AI toy actually responds to a curious kid, I have that up on my YouTube channel. So, what would you do with a toy like this? Would you let your kid use it?
There is no way I would allow my child to have any type of toy like this, but in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.